Hello, welcome to Life Study Library. This is your host, Lye Yosh. In this channel, you'll be able to learn about these interesting and educational information about science and psychology, as I'll be explaining it using scholarly articles. If you're interested, please enjoy the video, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to share to others that this source exists. Okay, let's go. Today we're going to be talking about anger management. I read a book recently called The Handbook of Emotional Regulation, edited by James J. Gross. It pretty much talked about managing various types of emotions through the use of neuroscience. I'll put it as a recommended book of the day, and I was particularly interested in what it talked about concerning anger. So I'll talk about the basics of anger management according to the info written in the book. Okay, point one is you shouldn't try to control your anger. This should honestly be common sense, but thanks to the negative cultural influence, our society has not accomplished this yet. Many emotions, especially anger, cannot be extinguished by forcing it down. You might be able to make it seem like it disappeared for a little bit, but this will bring many consequences. According to the book, many studies have proven that the suppression of anger leads to a decrease of positive emotions and an increase of many negative emotions. Simultaneously, this will overstimulate the sympathetic nerve system, which increases anxiousness or tensed emotional state, and ultimately the amygdala, the emotional control area in the brain, to overactivate. To add salt to injury, the negative influence you get from trying to control your anger will spread to the destruction of social relationships. Basically, the negative emotion will leak out of you, and people around you will notice it, and the emotion often affects these others in a negative way. Many correlational studies have proven this point, as people who suppress their anger will often avoid socializing, which will further lead them to solitude. So the negative cycle is clearly present. Trying to control anger leads to an increase of negative emotion, and the negative emotion makes you less approachable. Alright, that was pretty much it for controlling or suppressing your anger. Of course, sometimes in life you have to do this, but this definitely should not be a default. On the other hand, excessive anger expression is also a no-no. Shouting violently or, I don't know, being in a rage cage 24/7 makes you focus more on that negative experience, which fuels your negative emotion. It's the same reason why playing violent video games do not subside your negative emotion. So suppression nor overexpression works. We're cornered, or so we thought. According to the researchers' claims, we use specific areas in the brain to manage cognitive and emotional tasks. So, if we can focus on using our brain resources on cognitive tasks, we can essentially turn down the use of emotional areas from overfunctioning. Okay, that was a little bit confusing. So, an example. So when we are solving a difficult math problem, our emotion, like anger or anxiety, subsides because our resources are all focused towards solving that math problem. This relates to the concept of single tasking, and because the human brain cannot focus on multiple things, we are able to control our emotion by spending our brain resources and attention on other activities. And yeah, this is the entirety of this concept. Seems really obvious now that we know, doesn't it? I've talked before in some of my previous videos about how, despite the common assumption, we are not able to effectively multitask. But this time we are using this inability to our advantage, using concentration to pretty much cancel out our emotions. Other studies have also supported this finding, like the famous Stanford's marshmallow test, which has found that children who can effectively ignore their emotional urges and impulses are more likely to succeed in life. And I've also talked about this one game you can play to mitigate the feeling of anxiousness or other negative emotions that are disabling you from focusing on important matters. This video is called The Surprising Activity That Lowers Anxiety. It's in the description, so check it out after finishing this video. So the point is to give your brain another attention requiring task to focus on as a form of distraction. But the problem is, you probably won't have access to every single kind of attention diverging activity right at the moment when you're in a nerve-wracking situation. These kinds of situations are pretty unpredictable, so you can't fully prepare in advance. So, this video's main point will be about the other thing you can do called reappraisal. Reappraisal is a technique where you change the reason behind the idea of your emotion. If your boss is aggressively yelling at you for a trivial mistake you did, you think to yourself, wow, my boss is way overreacting to this. He seems so stressed out. Something must have happened to him. This thinking alone should be able to let you avoid getting trapped in other people's emotions. Similarly, if your romantic partner cheated and dumped you, or if you got betrayed by your friend, you think to yourself, well, I got cheated on or I got betrayed. That's a fact. But let's look at the situation from a different angle. A partner or a friend that betrays me should not be allowed in my personal space. So what actually happened was that I simply cleaned out my social circle. That's a benefit for me, and I didn't even have to move a muscle to detect betrayal. They did the work for me. Reappraisal is about looking at your emotion, especially negative emotion, from a different angle, which lets you analyze the situation using cognitive resources and stops you from getting controlled by emotion. Something like this. Similar technique is used to generate novel ideas, where you think about the subject from a completely new angle, and then novel ideas tend to follow that change of perspective. Reappraisal in this case is a very useful tactic, and it's often used in cognitive behavioral therapy, as it also influences neural activity. Research using PET and fMRI scans suggests that reappraisal directly affects the amygdala, which is a region in the brain that basically controls emotions. As you get better and better at implementing reappraisal, the less active the amygdala becomes concerning negative life events. Also, reappraisal can be used fabulously towards social and personal matters. An example would be in a situation where you are having a quarrel with your friend, and the more you can reappraise the situation and think, maybe my friend isn't being a bad friend, but more so is having a bad day that I have nothing to do with. The more you can think like this, the better quality friendship you can build and maintain with that other person. It seems then you can use reappraisal to view your own life with a less distorted lens, and the increased amount of positive emotion of yourself because of this can affect how you interact with other people. And right now I want to suggest another video from this channel you should watch after finishing this one. I've talked about how if you want to distract yourself from negative emotions, particularly anger, you should start working your cognitive energy by doing a cognitively stimulating task. But depending on the environment, not all activities are available. So you'd want a most convenient option, one that you can do in the most variety of environments and still has a huge benefit. If you want to know this one activity that is probably the best option for the greatest amount of people, you should watch a video called The Surprising Activity That Lowers Anxiety. This is actually the very first video I made for this channel, so the audio quality is noticeably inferior, but what I talked about in the video should be very valuable for many people. So do consider checking the video out. The link is in the description. But wherever possible, you should try reappraisal for the most certain benefit. And that was it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, if it was interesting to you and you want to watch more of my past and my future videos, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share to others that this channel exists so more people can learn about interesting and important science and psychology. I've been your host, Lye Yosh. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Peace!